Hello, and thank you for joining us today.
Hello.
Thanks for having us.
We're with Van Divorce, and we're here to talk about your new album. Congrats. If you could describe the new album in a few words, fans, what would you describe it as?
Natural.
Placeless.
Mistakes.
The album is called Drive to Goldenhammer. How did that name come about to you guys?
It came from a lyric in the final song on the record, which is called Mercy. And there's a lyric about a golden hammer. And it was writing that lyric, I was like, I had no idea what it meant. Initially, it was like totally subconscious. And I think we'd had the first part of the title in our minds since a couple of months after we'd finished recording. And we kind of always felt like we wanted to call it Drive to something, but didn't have a last word. And Goldenhammer kind of came in and sounded right and kind of sounded like a place that might exist. But I think that kind of speaks to the fact that we didn't really have. It's not a clear place in our minds. It's like the focus of the title is the drive, and Goldenhammer is kind of whatever you want it to be, because I think it's the kind of home that you look for, or a nostalgic kind of eerie thing that's like a memory that you're not quite sure is a real memory or a dream. Like something from very early childhood, and it's that kind of undefined thing. Focuses on the drive. We were looking for home, which I think we found in ourselves or in the songs. Yeah.
Lovely. And if listeners could take away one message, what would you want them to take away from?
Huge fans of putting the message out there for people. I think we like people to make their own minds up. I think across the album there's such an array of like what the songs are about. Some of them are about like very specific things, and some of them are about a bit more abstract stuff, and some of them are just like fun wordplay vibes. And so take what you want, I think.
Yeah, not really trying to convince anyone of anything.
Yeah.
I think it's just, I would hope that people come away from it feeling like we're a bunch of humans that wrote a record, and it sounds like that. I think we sound like humans making a record.
I agree.
Perfect for humans listening to
it. Yeah, exactly.
So that you sort of dip into a lot of different genres throughout making your sound. How is it to sort of blend those together? What is the process like? Is it tricky to sort of get them all cohesive, or?
I don't think it is tricky, actually.
No. Whatever it ends up being is kind of just the product of like us all listening to things over the span of our lives and taking bits in and naturally kind of regurgitating stuff in a way that you can't really see what it was originally. And I think that's the beautiful thing about making music is, but I think we're definitely not fussed. It's absolutely never in my mind like what genre a song or we are. We tend to just follow what the song needs, and then people can decide. People like to be like, oh, this sounds like new metal. I don't know, fast acid jazz.
Yeah, which they often say.
About no, I don't know. It's whatever you want it to be. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, and I think we started this band like relatively later in our lives. Like we didn't grow up together, or we're not teenagers. And I think so. We all had our sort of like music taste growing up, and as very separate music taste. We're not teenagers. So like bringing that all together is like we all pull from very different sort of like parts of music, and then we all have our like central things that we all definitely like. But it makes that more interesting, I think, and like the trust that we have in each other is like we willing to explore whatever, as long as it sounds good and sounds right for the song.
Yeah.
You wrote this at the Calm Farm.
Yeah.
And what was that experience like?
Really cool.
Yeah,
it was
amazing.
Yeah, it's an amazing space. We found through it's a friend of some guys at the Nave in Leeds, who we recorded with for the second EP, and they introduced us to Wilco, who not the band, but Wilco the man, who lives on a farm in Wetherby, kind of in the middle of nowhere. We had like 3 sections of 4 days at a time spread out throughout kind of the latter part of 2023, and we would do like get up, have some breakfast together, usually eggs, and then start writing at 10 and then finish at like 2 or 3 in the morning sometimes, and demoed as we went, and then we ended up with like too much and we had to whittle it down, and then we went and recorded it at Real World Studios, which was amazing because it's a really cool space. And I think we tried to take as much from the farm in terms of energy and the way we were recording things to Real World. And really, things didn't change that much from the demos.
Yeah, we always demoed and wrote live, so
Yeah.
it was like, and we liked the sound. Like, it wasn't like, they weren't the best demos in the world.
No.
But
A lot of spill.
not very many mics.
No.
But we liked the sort of live energy to it, so we took that across to pretty much everything on the album.
And Catherine Marks was like so good at allowing us to keep all that in, and like that was something she was really pushing for, was to get as much of the humanity of playing, because none of us are like the most technically gifted players, or like it's not about perfection for us at all.
Yeah. It's about feeling more than that.
Absolutely. And obviously you mentioned Catherine. Are there any sort of tips that you've really taken away from working with her that's really informed you guys?
Yeah, loads. She's
Yeah.
amazing. Like, I'm sort of in the very back of my mind, an aspiring producer, and she was like really inspiring to work with, in the fact that she's like got the engineering chops, but she also just like, she'll just like walk around in a room and be like, play that drum for me, and she'll walk around until it sounds the best. She's like, put a mic here, where my ears are, right here. And I was like, that's amazing. Like, that makes loads of sense. If like that's where it sounds good, put the mic there. And just like guiding, like the way that she guides you through a take, or like she'll be like, you can see when the take is good because she'll be like eyes widening and like moving around, and she's like a pretty inspiring presence to be around.
Yeah, being allowed to have enthusiasm about stuff, like in the studio, I think is a really important thing. I think it, like a lot of studios can be kind of, I think it can be a little bit of like a toxically male trait to kind of be very serious about things in the studio, or shy away from things that are maybe a little softer, or like, I don't know, like a bit more vulnerable, like if there's a bit more vulnerability to what you're getting across. And I think, I don't know, I've always found that our music like needs that, and like that's where the heart of it is. And being allowed to just be happy about things, or like enjoy things, and not have to kind of be cool, or like not be too moved by things is I don't know, it's really refreshing. Also, like Richie Kennedy, who engineered the record, just had so many fucking chops as well. Like, it's hard to kind of put your finger on, but I just know that there are ways in which like I'm approaching like my guitar tone, or like ways in which I would naturally want to record now as a result of working with those guys, I think.
Big time.
And are there any specific moments during the process that like significantly shaped the album's direction for you guys? Do you think like any sort of points?
The discovery of the Rhodes was a pretty big one, I think. Like when we got with the Rhodes, I was like, oh, this sounds great.
Yeah.
And it ended up like on most of the album.
Yeah.
Which is like not really where we started. But that's, I think, the great thing about the luxury of being able to spend quite a lot of time in the studio is like, once you've got the bare bones, and because we did most of it live, like the bare bones of it at least, it was like, okay, now we can just like muck about and see what works, and then those are I think that's the funnest bit. Like the playing live together is obviously great, but like gets arduous on the 14th take, and then when you get to like play with the synth or play with the Rhodes or like find a mad guitar or something, that's the funnest part for me, I think.
We really tried not to like kind of dress things up too much, but I think there were like little textures that we found. That's always the funnest bit of recording. It's like what a tiny little texture brings to a track, or like the number of songs we squeezed Fender Rhodes into that like probably didn't need it, but it works. It's like, it's such a responsive instrument. I just couldn't help putting it on everything.
It worked.
It works.
No one was mad about it.
Any particular songs on the album that hold really special meaning to you guys, that stand out for you guys in particular?
It's hard to tell. I think like so many of them do. I think Karen is a big one for me. That felt really special. I think it, like, I just remember Tiger coming to me with that song, or like, and with the initial demo, and I was just so sort of taken by the melody of it in that verse. And I think the way we worked on that as a group as well was really intuitive and fun, and it's a really fun track to play. So yeah, that would be Karen for me.
For me, it's a song called Parachuter. I think when we wrote that, it was like we'd already worked on like 3 or 4 songs that day, and it was like 11 o'clock, and people were like, oh, should we maybe go to bed? And we were like, let's try and squeeze one more out. And it ended up being like the dead of night. We were all like playing really quietly, and that came across, I think, in the actual recording of it as well. And I just think it's a really lovely song. It's my favourite on the album.
And lastly, what can we expect next from you guys? Good question.
Great question.
Kind of immediately the album.
Immediately the album. After that, we're going everywhere.
Everywhere.
Everywhere in
the world. Not in the... No, we're not. No.
We're not going everywhere. We're going to quite a lot of places in the UK and Europe, which we're very excited about.
Yeah.
And then after that, festivals, and we'll be writing.
Yeah, we'll be writing a lot more songs, hopefully a lot more albums. That's the dream. And I think we'll hopefully be going to some other places too in the world.
Yeah, and fingers crossed.
Yeah, big fingers, all of my fingers and toes are crossed.
Absolutely. So thank you guys so much for joining us today. And the album is out March the 7th, so get pre-ordering.